Ciao, everyone from Alcamo Marina in the province of Trapani. We're here for 2 weeks doing a tour of the west coast of Sicily.
I have one thing to say. Somebody has to do it. Might as well be us.
We're going to have a guest on, Bea Green, whose family, both mom and dad's side, hails from Sicily. She's going to talk about visiting her roots and some stories about her growing up in a Sicilian household in just a little bit, but literally 20 minutes ago, I got off the bus from the first day of touring,
Where'd you go?
Palermo and
Huh?
Monreale. It was unbelievable. It
What's
was
up? A lot of people there?
there was more people there than I ever remember since 2019. It was really, really good to see. Very packed.
Good.
Very interesting to see everyone going back to all the sites that we love, and we have one of our favorite guides, Gabriella, who, of course, you know for a long time. And I just love the way she puts Palermo into perspective. She has so much knowledge about it. And every time I'm with her, and I've been with her now maybe 6, 7 years touring this part, every time she says something different. And she said something today that was very interesting. She called Palermo lasagna because of all the layers of influences that happen. Of course, the Romans came. The Greeks never made it all the way here. Termini and Meresi
Right.
was as
The
far
Phoenicians, I believe.
as what the Phoenicians were here, right?
The first
And then,
one, right.
exactly, and then the Romans came here. And in fact, where there was the cathedral, the Palermo Cathedral, at one point, that was a Roman forum. And then the Byzantines were here and they created a place of worships. Of course, the Arabs had a mosque in the same exact spot where the cathedral was. Hey, did you know there were at one time 300 mosques in downtown Palermo? 300 mosques. Now
I
there's only
did. I
one.
did know that. There's only
Now
one mosque.
there's one mosque left because there is still a significant population that attends a mosque. And then after the Byzantines, of course, the Arabs, and then after the Arabs, the Normans. So she likes to say this has been a 700-year-old process of building the cathedral. Of course, it was started at 1141, around there. So very interesting. And also, she also had some good tidbits about World War II and some of the destruction that happened. And there was one area that there were 400 airplanes involved over Palermo. The place, of course, was heavily bombarded. But, when you take a look at how many airplanes and how much bombarding and destruction there were relatively few people that died during this period in downtown Palermo when there was a big attack. And do you know there's still areas in Palermo that you can see World War II destruction?
Did you know that after the Second World War, when the Reconstruction took place, I'll tell you a couple of interesting stories.
Yeah.
The first story is, did you ever notice all the cinder block construction as you go through Palermo?
Yeah.
That's because the mafia in those days came out of the ground. One thing you have to say about Mussolini is that he kept the mafia at bay for 20 years. But the mafia popped up, and only 8 people had building permits to do all that building, including 2 or 3 old aunts. And also, the colonel that was in charge of the U.S. forces in Palermo during the occupation was a made mobster from New York City. Did you know that?
No, interesting.
See, I know
tidbit.
the other thing. And by the way, when the U.S. forces finally left, they left behind anything that rolled, kind of like what happened in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
All the buses and all the trucks. And the bus companies in this neck of the woods today are the direct lineal descendants
Wow.
of the bus companies using U.S. forces buses back in 46, 47 until the Constitution was adopted in 48, Esther.
So the other interesting thing about that period that a lot of people left Palermo because it was uninhabitable, right? And they didn't return, she said, until the early 2000s. It took a long time. But let's just
Wait a minute. I just want to say
yeah.
one more tidbit. everybody talks about the Great Migration into the United States at the end of the 19th century. Did you know that the second Great Migration of Sicilians took place between 1949 and 1952? A second wave
and I believe
went to the United States.
that's
then, right after the war.
Yeah, there were a bunch of, and I happened to meet some people in Monreale whose parents, whose family migrated from Sicily immediately after World War II. They were from Philadelphia visiting. Anyway, so we had a beautiful visit in Palermo. We went to the cathedral, the Ballado Market. If you come to Sicily, if you come to Palermo, you have to do the markets, the sights, the sounds. Oh my God, the smells were incredible. It was bustling. And then we went to Monreale, had a little bit of a Aperol Spritz over there in the piazza. And now I came home to do the show. I'm looking for, did you have a shout out?
There is nothing more special in Europe, in my view, that of a Palermo rising. If Palermo can rise again to its former glory, believe me, it would be the epicenter of Europe.
At one point it was.
It would rival Amsterdam, Budapest, Rome, any place else in the United States.
At one point it did.
It's a magical, wonderful, beautiful city with, the only thing I can say is they mispronounce Arancino. They say Arancina. But other than that, that's my only criticism of that beautiful town.
Well, we saw plenty of panelle, the chickpea, the chickpea sandwiches, panelle, and also the spleen sandwiches, the sausage sandwiches, the intestines. Plenty of octopus. So it was very lively, very good to see. And I'm looking forward to hear what Bea thought.
In Bagheria last year, which is in the zone not too far away, or 2 years ago, I had my first and last spleen sandwich.
Oh, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
You didn't finish it.
I couldn't.
You didn't finish it.
Right out of the shot, right? It's supposed to go out of the shot. I had to spit it out. But people love that. It's boiled spleen
of they eat.
Whatever animal, a cow, and they put it in bread, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. They just stick it in their mouth. And I think you have to have an acquired taste for that. I can't do it.
Yeah, for sure, not the spleen. All right,
I have a couple of shout outs.
Okay.
Before, and then we're going to let Bea come on, right? Okay. The first shout out I want to give, listen to this, okay? Jim Ingram.
That's shocking.
What? What did I say? My pal Jim Ingram is, I talked him into going to a B&B up in Tuscany. It's a nudist B&B. It's a nudist B&B. But he told me he has to lose weight first. But I sent him the information. Mm-hmm. So, Jim, lose that weight. And number two, I want to give a good shout out to Dan Ford, who consistently supports the Sicilian Project. Yeah. And the only reason I'm saying the Sicilian Project is right now we're doing another fundraiser to get going for our September group. If you have a chance, visit our website, www.thesicilianproject.com, or if you're my Facebook friends, I'm having a birthday thing, one of those Facebook birthday things where in the first week we've picked up over €750.
Bravo.
And we're in the process right now. Stefania is in the process right now of finding a place, a big place in Palermo. So I'm kind of hoping that we finally nail down a reputable place in Palermo that we can do business with. Yeah. So without further ado, Esther.
All right, let me see if I can see some people. Penny's here, Nona's World. Honey, you want to get up?
I'm going to get up.
Anthony, nice to see you. Someone asked if it's hot. Yeah, it's really hot. It was about 85 today. Very nice in downtown Palermo. Good morning from Colorado. My ancestral area is Termini, but more I see Catania. I think I love the small town of Catania. I will be donating again this month. Thank you, Linda. And without further ado, scoot in a little bit. Bea Green, our dear friend, she came with us on a tour, and then her and her husband, Don, we just became dear friends.
For 4 years
now. And for 4 years, and here she is, and her story is just great. Both sides of your parents, your mom and dad, left Sicily.
Yes.
You're first generation.
Yes.
First generation. So talk about, first of all, one of them was from Marsala in the salt mines,
Yes. My mother.
your mother, and your father was from the province of Agrigento.
See.
And so why did they leave?
Well, my father was the first one that left Sicily. He and his brother, they were 18 and 19 at the time. And their mother, they worked in the sulfur mines, which I'm sure all of us have heard the stories of the sulfur mines. And their mother did not want to see them continue as young boys to work there. And she somehow or other put together some money and gave it to them and said, go to the USA
Wow.
and start a new life for yourself. And they did. And so that would have been around 1920. And they came over, and my father ended up settling in Quincy, Massachusetts, and my uncle in Waltham, Massachusetts. So that was 1920. My father came back at some point a few years later for an arranged marriage and married his first wife. And then came back to the US, had 6 children. And unfortunately, his first wife died when she was about 39. And then my mother, what happened?
And he had 3 children with her.
6.
6.
Six
6 children with her.
6
Okay.
children, 5 boys, 5 boys and a girl. And then several years later, as the children became teenagers, he realized he needed some help. And again, went back to Sicily. And that would have been about 1946. And
Right after the war.
yes, it was right after the war. And that's where he ended up marrying my mother. And it took a year to get all the paperwork straightened out, but eventually she came over here. So it would have been more like 1947 when she came over here and settled here. And she was about 37 at the time when she came over here. And then, lucky her, she had me when she was 40.
Lucky us. Lucky us. So I want to ask you, so this isn't your first time. It's your 4th time. You and your husband, Don, have been here several times. Do you find that coming here each time you have a different experience? You see something new?
Yes. Also, the
Yeah.
changes. Prior to me coming 4 times with my husband, before I even knew him, I had been here 2 different times. Once I spent a summer here when I was around 8 years old. And then another time I came back for a month when I was 19. And then the 4 times with my husband. And each time it's been very different. Some of it is due to age.
Mhm.
I mean, when I'm 8,
You have different
from 19,
perspectives. Yeah.
and then being married. But the other thing that I find very interesting is the changes. But one
What
thing,
have you seen change? So you came here when you were 8 or 9. You came here several times. What are some of the biggest areas that you've seen a significant change?
the areas are more not the people, other than the younger people, I think bring in the newer type of culture.
Mm-hmm.
But the older people, the true Sicilians, they're still here. I mean, our last trip when we came and we spent, after the tour with you, we spent a week in Taormina. And the people that we met there that had been here for a long time, when they would hear me talk with the Sicilian dialect, they were ecstatic and they became our friends. And each of these places, when we were leaving Taormina, they gave us gifts.
You know, that's something I sometimes talk about, that when I first came here, first of all, I didn't speak any Italian.
Mhm.
In the shops, they would look at you, correct you, stranieri, stranieri. Then I learned Italian. But when I got to know a few words in Sicilian, that opened up a whole different world to me.
Yeah.
Whole
Yeah.
different world. So, so growing up in a Sicilian household in
Mhm.
Massachusetts, they spoke Sicilian?
Absolutely.
parents?
Well, my mother taught me Italian with the Sicilian dialect before I knew English. She knew I was born in the US. I was going to learn English. All our friends and the neighbors, they were all American, and I would be going to school over there. And she wanted me to learn Italian. And she had the Sicilian dialect. It wasn't an overly strong Sicilian dialect, but it was still there. And that's where I learned to speak that. And my mother did eventually learn some English, but she was a little bit older, so it wasn't great English. But I spoke in Italian with the Sicilian dialect to her every day.
And what are some of the memories, perhaps, of traditions that when you come back here to Sicily, you're like, Oh, that's why we did that. That's a Sicilian thing.
A lot of it centers around food
Mhm.
and the holidays. Easter, the traditional food you have around Easter.
So like
in
what?
Christmas. I'm trying to think of what they're called, the Easter breads. That's kind of a sweet bread with the egg.
With the egg.
Yeah. And then
Uva de Pasqua, uva de
see,
Pasqua.
see. I'm trying to think what else.
We have
Easter.
someone over there making the comments. Go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, I wonder who. And even Christmas. I mean, and the other thing was Sunday dinners. We grew up with the Sunday dinners, and as my brothers
And
were
traditionally,
married,
what would that be?
it was everything. You know, they'd gather around, and there would be some appetizers, and then there was always a pasta dish or a lasagna or something, and then there was always some kind of meat dish. And for some reason, I don't remember a lot of seafood at those meals, but I think I think it was because a couple of my brothers didn't really like seafood, and so I'm sure my mother would cater to everybody. And then all the desserts would come out, but that was every Sunday. And our oldest child, our daughter, she's now 49, but she remembers some of the Sunday dinners.
Mm.
And she's tried to resurrect that, but it's much harder where people live further
apart. Yeah, further
Yeah.
apart. I want to ask you, and you and I have talked about this a little bit. You reconnected a little bit with your family here.
Yes. I have a cousin on my mother's side, and she lives in Agrigento. And I connected with her a couple of times on a couple of our trips here. And then I have many, many, many cousins in the Agrigento region, and they're on my father's side. And the cousins cover about 3 generations.
And you've had reunions with them?
Well, I've only met some of them once, but we keep in touch through Facebook. We've had.
What was it like first meeting them again?
It's actually one of my cousins, and it would be the first cousin, so she'd be like my generation. One of my cousins from the U.S. said to me, "Wait till you meet her. You two look alike." And that's the biggest shock, because we do. We look very much alike, and we're probably not that distant in age either. And other than that, it's like you almost easily reconnect in some respects, because we all had
Familia, right?
Familia
Familia,
è tutto.
è tutto. I want to ask you about coming here. You most of the time you go new places, right?
Yes, we try to.
And what are some of the most memorable places, besides, I think, going to your ancestral hometown is always memorable? What are some of the places that you would say, oh, I want to go back, I had a great memory there, so forth?
Taormina is one of our favorites in Cefu. I mean, how can you go wrong with either place? I'm trying to. There's so many places. I would go back
endless,
to like.
Right?
I know.
You'd go back
and every
everywhere.
time we come back, we find a new place we will want to go back to.
I often tell people when they come here, that if they want to do 7 days. So what do you mean 7 days in Sicily? You can't do 7 days in Sicily. It's endless trove of treasures, and you can spend a lot of time learning new things and so forth. I want to ask you, because this is one of my favorite questions to ask people. And I know you were here when you were 8 years old. And then afterwards, when was the second time you came back?
19.
And I know, because I've heard about it, that you have a little bit of a moment when you land in Sicily.
Yes, it's traditional. Every single time we land, and I think Dawn was shocked the first time that this happened. The plane lands, and usually within about 30 seconds, I have tears coming down my eyes. And the first time, I don't know if he thought I was upset about something. I said, no. I just feel like I'm home. And I will cry now if I keep talking about it.
Well, talk about it. What does it feel like?
I don't know. It's just this whole sense about why have I not been here even sooner? Even though, I mean, granted, it's 4 years since I was here the last time, but that's only because of the pandemic, because we were due to come here 2 years ago and stay much longer also. I mean, even at one time, we talked about possibly moving here for several months at a time, and
we'll see. That could still happen.
We'll never know.
That could still happen. Listen, I want to ask you about something that we often get questions about. People trying to find family here. and perhaps being apprehensive about coming here. What advice would you have for them?
Well, I was fortunate that I had U.S. cousins who knew about the cousins over here. So that part was easy. But from what I've heard from other people, they have not had a problem. And some people recently have gone through some of those ancestry programs,
Yeah.
where they actually can match you
And
up
come
with
out
some names.
DNA, that's good advice.
And that's how they found some of their family. So that's another way. But I have never found anyone that I've met here that if you ask the question that has been rude or condescending, they're all helpful.
I find that the Sicilians welcome their
Yes.
family in the United States and other countries with open arms. Time and time again, there's been situations where people come, they seek out their family. You know, they're nervous. Do they really want to say? Yes, they do. They miss their family. I found Sicilians really say, "Oh, it's been too long. Why didn't you come before?" And look at that. We
not regret it.
And not regret it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had a great day in Palermo today. Not your
great.
first time. Also in Montreal. Tell me 3 things you learned that you didn't know before.
Palermo and lasagna in the same sentence, and not about food. Yeah. Also inside the cathedral that we were in Montreal, the depictions of the mosaics, what they really meant. I never would have realized that if Gabriella hadn't gone through that in detail. And
I found it
wonderful about
interesting, the curls.
Yes, the 2
curls
locks of hair
on Christ depict
the 2 sides of him, his humanity and his godness.
That was a new. I always learn something new from her.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing. I almost wish I had a recording going.
And how was the arancini you had?
Very good.
Very
Not
good.
like my mother's though, which Don says. Don is my husband. Don says
She's
they
quite
are
a
the
cook.
best.
I've heard that. All right, Bea. Final thing. What are you looking forward to most doing in this trip?
Seeing some places that, even though I've been here so many times, I still haven't seen Shaka, Segesta. There's a couple of other places that we'll be seeing.
Yep. All of those.
Yep.
Okay, Bea, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mwah. Mwah. Come on, we're Sicilian here. All right, bring the big Alfredo back here. Nice to see everyone here. Peter Scapaletti's here. I connected with relatives in Italy through DNA testing. Very nice. Hoping to make it over here this summer, and that's great. Looking forward to meeting a lot of people. I got to tell you the funniest thing that happened the other day. I was sitting in downtown Catania having a cup of coffee while our guy Juicy was taking people around, and this woman stops. I'm having a cup of coffee over there at Piazza Duomo. I'm having a cup of coffee, and she stops. She looks at me, and I'm like, why does she look at me? Did I do something wrong? Why is she looking at me? And she goes, "You're Esther?" I said, "Oh my God, do I know you?" She goes, "Oh, you're Esther. Is Alfred here? You are Yumi in Sicily." Her husband comes out with 2 plates of food. I said, "Come over here, join me, eat with it. Are you sure you guys are okay with, or you're okay with me, with us eating here?" I said, Of course. I'm just a person." It was so much fun. So she's been watching all our episodes, and she was so thankful for some of the advice that we have given in past videos. For example, the 10 hidden treasures or 10 things to see, or the video about Catania, blah, blah, blah. And she said, we based our tour on a lot of the advice that you guys did, also the travel tips and so forth. So that was such a hoot. So thank you for you guys. If you're here in Sicily, make sure you come and say hello. Remember that happened to us in San Vito, on the way to San Vito Lo Capo one year? That was
Dawn
so
was
fun.
telling me that when he left Boston, Bea's husband, Dawn, that they had on the You, Me, and Sicily shirts, the T-shirts, and the fellow there said, "You, Me, and Sicily? You know those people?" Come to find out that the screener is a big fan of You, Me, and Sicily, and also hails from Sicily. What a small world out of Boston.
Small world.
Am I right, Dawn? That's pretty much what the story was. I couldn't believe it.
That's a great story. I love hearing that. I love that you guys watch and talk and you can use this information mostly. All right, honey. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that we still have some trinacas, the Sterling Silver trinacas. B, are you wearing yours? No. No, she has one, but her and Mary have theirs on. So we still have some. Alfred is going home in a few weeks. So we'll have them in mid-July in the United States. They're beautiful gifts, gift for yourself too, right?
You know, I'm very much looking forward to going home. My daughter, the day after I arrive from, God willing, and everything, is not canceled, whatever, is my daughter's having a pool party. And then the next day is my brother Tommy's 70th birthday party, where he's having a clam bake, an authentic New England lobster bake, whatever the hell it's called. And then on July the 4th, I'm going up to Salisbury Beach to spend the 4th with the Zappala clan, my clan again, at my sister Anna's house. So, 3 reunions with the Zappala clan, and
that'll be good for you, Al.
I'm going to
really
be,
good for you.
I know it's going to replenish my soul. It really is. And what's going to replenish my suitcase is going to be about 10 pounds of Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Well, I just want to say
list of stuff that she has.
A quick thank you to B and Don
They
who
brought us some
Dunkin'
emergency supplies because we were down to our last few grinds on the Dunkin' Donuts stuff. I really appreciate it. And I might even get a bunch of Peeps for the kids next door who are now officially addicted to Peeps, Esther.
You know what else they brought us? I'm looking for someone's name over here. A mug that says Scituate, and also a little glass holder, a little tile that says Scituate. So now in our home in Sicily, we'll have a piece of Scituate, which is where they are from. So that was a beautiful gift for my birthday. Thank you, B and Don.
Esther, when B was telling her story, you know who I was thinking of?
Who?
I was thinking of Frank Canelio, Chris Canelio,
yes,
the Canelio family, and how they connected with their relatives thanks to a cousin here from Kanikati,
who looked them up on Facebook.
And we went down there. They asked us to go down to the airport to film it, which we did. And there must have been 20 of his relatives.
That was very cool.
It was just unbelievable. And I want to give a shout out to Angelo, his son. That's who it was. Angelo, who is a loyal watcher of our program, etc. He's graduating from high school.
Goody.
And he just finished up his 13th year of playing organized soccer in New York. I think it's New York. Yeah, in New York. And I'm just so proud of that boy. I love that kid to pieces.
It's been so great to watch them grow up.
We've watched them
I'll never forget
Yep.
them. Dinner at our house the last day. And he just wanted an arancini. And he started crying. He said, I don't want to leave Sicily. I love Sicily. I just want to come back here.
Yep.
I've never forget that. Listen, I want to give a shout out to Elfio Tropea and his friend Giovanni Zocca. Giovanni's coming to Sicily at the end of September. He's going to go to San Vito Lo Capo to the Couscous Festival. So they're going to be over here.
Are we going to that?
We're not.
No. We're not going to the Couscous
We're not.
Festival
Not this year.
We are going to Avila, though.
Jim says it's what you always put forward. It's one of the reasons you're so successful. Thank you, Jim.
Jim Ingram, is for people like you, to be honest with you, Jimmy has developed into a real, he's almost like my brother now, even though he's like 1.5 feet shorter than I am.
He's my brother.
And he's for sure Esther's soulmate, for sure.
We've become good friends.
I was kind of excited, and all kidding aside, he did send me a message this week that later on, I believe in October, November, he's going to be going to Tuscany, and then he's going to be coming to Sicily. So I'm really excited to have Jimmy, because we sit
with the Tuscany.
We sit around the outside deck, the inside deck at nighttime. The three of us, we light our candles, and we just commiserate about a whole range of topics because he's an intellect, and I like having intellectual discourse with Jimmy. He's a great man.
Yeah,
I hope he's okay.
Very good. And I want to know how Peter Scapoletti is doing as well. John says, Valilo, I connected with relatives in Italy through DNA testing. That is great. I love to hear that.
Does anybody, can I make a comment? Talking about the DNA stuff. Has anybody ever done 24/7
24andMe?
24andMe
or 23andMe?
Ancestry.com?
That's a good question. Did you guys do
I'm
it? And
curious if
what did you find?
I did it, and I got it as a Christmas present one year, so I did it. And after I did it, I says I shouldn't have done it because now someone's got my DNA on record, but whatever. Anyways, I've been getting all these contacts from people who are either second cousin or third cousins.
How do you feel about that?
Well, the one that shook me up and also shook up a few other ones was about 6 months ago. I got one, and was either my one was says 199.999% accuracy, a first cousin, which meant that one of my family members, did a little bit of shenanigans, and then the youngster reached out to me.
Wow.
He reached out to me, sent me an email, and I struggled for a couple of weeks whether I should reach out to this guy, right? And I did. After about 3 or 4 weeks, Esther and I discussed it. I discussed it with my brother. Blah, blah,
I
blah.
said, what do you have to lose? Seriously.
He is, and after I did my own investigation, I'm quite sure that he is a first cousin. There's no question or a second cousin at worst, all right? And one of the things I'm going to do when I go to the States, and I'm going to see if I can sit down and have a cup of coffee with this guy. The young man is only 35 or 38 years old. I want to meet this guy.
Listen, before we go on, I want to give you guys a view of what we're looking at over here. Over here, by the way, it's the Tyrrhenian Sea. Can you see Dawn over there? Dawn, why don't you wave? Dawn, wave. There's Dawn, Bea's husband, but I want to give you guys this view. We're over here in Alcamo Marina at our friend's Paula's place. She's got little fully furnished apartments, so you can come over here and look at this garden, look at the sea, look at the mountains. Beautiful Beltramonto. Beltramonto is sunset. They're called Villa Beltramonto because the sunsets here are just magical. So we're going to talk about our friend Paula here in Castellamare / Alcamo Marina in a future episode, probably on Sunday. We're going to have on the diva, the Contessa Paula, to talk a little bit about this area and also about her life growing up as a Sicilian in New York City.
We'll do this tour again next year. It's always around this time. And this tour is going to take us from Palermo all the way down to Shaka.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an extended length tour. And I'm looking forward. I'm kind of curious to see what Bea thinks after we hit the southern portion of the southwestern portion of this island. Usually people hover around Castellamare, Cefalo. They do
Palermo,
Palermo,
more
right?
like
Now,
the northern
so
side,
we're doing
right?
something new. And the
Yeah.
last thing I was going to say is we're doing the same thing on the East Coast next year. We're doing an extended trip, not only hitting the places like Talmina, etc., but we're also hitting the deep south of the eastern seaboard, going all the way down to Mazamene, Pachino, Noto, Ragusa, and that area too. These are, believe me when I tell you, they are gems.
I'm thinking of putting Sicily on the list too.
Yeah,
but
she's
we
thinking
will
of putting
discuss it.
on.
Linda says that's what happened to me. I have about 3 first cousins I found on Ancestry and 3 brothers and 2 sisters I never knew I had.
That's
is
just amazing,
fascinating.
isn't it? Who's that?
Wow, that's our friend Linda. Linda
that
Maria.
just blew me away. I got kind of shooken up about it,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
For sure. Listen, I want to ask you guys what you think about having guests, different guests. We can't always have it because we're not always touring, but we had Rosario Ferracci on. He's Sicilian, but we've had a few people
Jack
from the
Allensworth,
United States,
Mr.
like
Marsala.
Charles Marsala, who's the president of the
We had a lot of great,
Southeast
interesting people.
Italian American Federation. We had Bea on. So I'm curious if you're interested in hearing more. We're definitely going to have my friend Stefania on. She's a mother in Catania, mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter.
Superwoman.
A superwoman in Catania on when we go back there. But, the fun thing about this, about being on the road too, is that we get to meet all these new people. I'm looking forward to Sundays when we have Paula on. Then we're going to go to Avola for a few days. So, by the way, the festival, Noto Flower Festival video is coming up in either Thursday or
It
Friday.
came out great.
Friday or Saturday, like before the weekend, I'll have that video up.
You know, not only that, but today Esther took over 8 minutes of B-roll of Palermo and Monreale. So what
Yeah.
we'll do is we'll accumulate all this B-roll on this tour, and that'll give us plenty of fodder, so to speak, for our Friday videos that we want to do.
And I'm going to post some pictures on YouTube in our community and also on Facebook on You, Me, and Sicily.
What's the community
Also
about? How does that work?
videos. I just took a great video down there. The community is a way for you guys to support for $1.99 a month. It's just a way to support You, Me, and Sicily. We come to you every week, twice a week, sometimes even a third video. And it's just a little way of supporting us. Next to the subscribe button on YouTube, there's a join. You hit that and it'll take you to all the things that you have to
Believe
do.
me, $1.99, the price of a cup of coffee, we stretched that to $25. Believe me, because when we do shoots, we have an incredible backlog of videotape that we use time and time again, snippets of tape that we have never put up before, and it's very helpful. Even when you come to Palermo or Sheffalo or no matter where, it's profoundly important there. I would say that we probably now have transcended into documentarians of life in Sicily. We probably know or have on video as much or more than anybody else. That's what
I was so looking forward, you guys, to going to Palermo today. I was so looking forward to going to Palermo today because it's been since 2019. I've been here sort of in and out, but during COVID, it was very, very difficult to shoot and things were shut and blah, blah, blah. But it was the first time I was like, oh, this is great footage. So I can't wait for you guys to see it.
So last night, Paula, I want to talk about what we had last night, okay? Because what we do is a few nights we actually eat right on location, right on
Paula's
the premise.
a great cook.
She blows away any restaurant that you can go to. What do we have to eat last night?
Yesterday we had several appetizers. She made a caponata, very unusual caponata. She used zucchini and eggplant, and she didn't use any olives. She did use some raisins. She used basil. What green things?
The things that you like.
Oh, capers. She, of course, had capers in there. And then we had some salami, some cheese. We also had bruschetta. Excuse me, bruschetta.
Yeah.
And then she made the pasta from fresh sauce.
Wait a minute. She also made melanzana. She made melanzana. She made an eggplant. And this guy, Tom Ogle, that is with us, he gobbled it up, and I swear to God, I'm not a big eggplant eater. It was one of the best eggplants I've
had.
Does
it. And it's right from her garden. Right from her garden.
Was picked over here.
And then we had the pasta sauce she makes herself. And it's interesting, she puts onions in her pasta sauce. Some people don't. Yep. She doesn't put a lot of garlic. Her main thing is basil and onions. That was very good. Secondo? And then she made the involtini, the rolled veal with cheese in there. Of course, it was breaded and some onions. And then she made potatoes with the rosmarino. Fantastic.
The potatoes al forno, because I'm a potato al forno aficionado. I always get it like on the side stuff. I was embarrassed I was eating them so much. And I asked
everyone enjoyed it.
It was just killer. And of course, what Esther's not neglecting to tell you is that we bought some nice dessert.
Cannoli. I bought
some.
I bought everyone cannoli.
Pasta di mandorla cookies, because it was her birthday earlier this week. And she's not a very big cake eater. Okay, she wouldn't eat the cake.
I'm a gelato and granita person.
So it was nice to have friends of ours.
You know what we're having tonight?
No.
Salsiccia con finocchio, fennel sausage. It is so good.
Oh, great.
Also, she's making some pasta. And tomorrow night is pizza night. So what are you waiting for? Come to Sicily.
We have a great restaurant in Castellamare. We've already been there. Our first
it's my favorite. I've been going there since 2000. since
Timba.
2016. Because what I do is
Timba,
when I'm
Timba.
here on before the tours, because we never take people to restaurants we've never been to, is I try some restaurants over, or we try them. Sometimes you're not with
Yeah.
me. And this one was classical, very, very good. On that note, honey, there's one question.
There is. Anthony,
I'll take one
there
or
is an
two.
ancestry.it to answer your question. And there also is a very vibrant business doing genealogy research in Sicily. There's some very good genealogists here. And now they're in cahoots, by the way, with some genealogists in the United States, some Italian-based genealogists.
It's definitely
in
a
the United
growing industry. I found more and more people interested in finding out their
It's changing.
ancestry.
It's
an
DNA
interesting thing,
info
but it's
gets
very
researched.
good. I like to hear that. I like that people are trying to connect. Not everyone is as fortunate as Bea, who has family or me that, I was born in another country, so I back in Hungary, so obviously I know all my cousins, but I actually had someone reach out to me. They're going to Budapest, and he's Hungarian, and he was asking me about doing ancestry. And so it's just good to see a lot of people interested in their ancestral country. Okay, on that note, I know you have one final thing, because you always have one darn final thing.
Peter Cipolleti made some comments, and the one that's really profound is where he said, "I wish he was here with us." Hey, Peter, why don't you come here? Okay, why don't you and your beautiful wife come here? I would love to sit with you on our deck and just commiserate about stuff. So, Sicily's calling you, brother. I know you watch my brother's programming all the time. You watch.
He's a loyal fan, like many of you are.
Sicily's calling you. Why don't you come? Hey, you want to know something? Every day we're getting a day older. You hear what I'm saying? It's money. That's all it is money. Okay.
Well, he also
you're going to give it either to your kids or you're going to give it to the government. How about spending a little bit on yourself? The prices are good right now. The prices here are good. The tickets are great. Right? It's under $1 grand. They're not bad at all.
You guys, not you guys, wherever you are, wherever you're watching. Thank you for taking this time. We'll see you later this week or another video of you, me, and Sicily. Ciao.
Se benediga. Grazie tanti per tutti.